Hi everybody, this is Black Rhino Ranger doing another countdown commentary from last year towards my 30th birthday. This time, it's 1996. When I was a kid, I heard my parents were planning to move to Malaysia. Don't know if we went there okay, it was definitely next year that we actually moved. I was very young. I was like a very toddler. I was only about 2 years old, but we definitely were thinking about moving back to Malaysia at the time. Sorry. In in fact, the first time I visited Malaysia, it was a hotel. And what was happening during in the what happened in 1996? This TV cartoon, this animated movie, and this video game came out. My favorite TV cartoon is Beast Wars. It's what got me into animals characters. It's what got me into Transformers. It was the first Transformers series I ever was a fan of. Kind of made me into robots. Kind of made me into sci-fi. Beast Wars with its CGI and stuff. It was my first of many things. And it's also my perhaps where it started my earliest taste. I mean, why I consider the rhinoceros my most favorite animal because of Rhinox. Um, and it was the first Transformers cartoon to focus more on character rather than shoehorning in as many different characters into a show as much as possible in order to sell toys. They actually decided to give more dimensions to each character. Honorable mentions for 1996 for television are Dexter's Laboratory, the first of the cartoon series, The Jungle Cubs. I know it's a bit corporate for studios to try and age down characters, but it was one of my early jams. Superman, the animated series, which is perhaps my most favorite thing Superman related, and Kablam! Something that feels like the 90s, but also feels very nostalgic, kind of like a Goofy movie. Feels like something you cannot make in any other decade but the 90s, but there's a bit of charm to its cheesiness. And I believe Kablam is available to be watched on YouTube because trying to get it on DVD is a bit of a copyright fickle since Angela Anaconda has a bit of a rights thingy with Disney. A similar case with Doug. And why Doug went from do 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 to ba ba da ba 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 da ba 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 da ba. And what is my favorite animated movie? It is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It is very dark, very silly, and yes, admittedly, I do have a soft spot for the gargoyles. I know they may seem a bit out of place for the cartooniness, but I thought they were kind of needed to help lighten up the mood because at times things can get a little too dark and a little too serious, especially when it talks about lust, like Frollo sniffing a young woman's hair and talk about religion and the tragedy of being deformed or something like that. What makes a monster? What makes a man? You could argue that that storyteller Clopin, he's a comic relief. He would have done fine, but I thought the gargoyles were a fine addition. And I guess if they were fully part of Quasimodo's imagination, then they would have been better characters instead of helping him fight off the bad guys. Honorable mentions for 1996 animated films: Aladdin and the King of Thieves. And if we're counting live-action animation, it would be Space Jam, the Looney Tunes basketball thing, James and the Giant Peach, and if we're counting puppetry as a form of animation, Muppets Treasure Island. And my most favorite video game of that year would be Crash Bandicoot. Everything I love about that box-breaking marsupial debuted in that game. Now, yes, I will admit the original was a bit hard to get through in some levels, but hey, at least I still had some fun playing it, especially with the bosses. And remember, if it wasn't for this game, we probably wouldn't have any other future games coming in the future. We wouldn't have the we wouldn't have Cortex Strikes Back, Warped, Team Racing, Bash, Wrath of Cortex, Nitro Kart, Twin Sanity, Tag Team Racing, Boom Boom Bang, Crash of the Titans, Mind of a Mutant, his appearance in Skylanders Imaginators, the Insane Trilogy, the Nitro Feud, It's About Time, Crash Team Rumble, or even the mobile games or the Game Boy Advance games. Remember, Crash Bandicoot started here. One of my honorable mentions, the Mortal Kombat Trilogy, Tomb Raider. I did play a little bit of that. I didn't own it, but I did play a little bit of it. Pokemon Red and Blue, I think that was when Pokemon started. And Jumpstart Haunted Island. You know, that education game that I did a live stream on that, the one with the very eerie music, like doo doo doo, bum bum bum. Yeah, it was probably, in fact, I would consider Haunted Island my most favorite education game because of its creepy factor. Anyway, so what happened during the animation? Here I am with Black Ranger. Now over here, instead of Rhinox, I chose Optimus Primal. The main reason to do this was to try this bit of animation. And he mentions Optimus Primal, maximize, and then he transforms just like that. The audio from that was from the Beast Wars episode Fallen Comrades, which was the introduction to Dragatron, and I believe it's the one I remember watching the most because that was the first thing I've owned on VHS. Now I thought about doing this because I chose Optimus Primal because it was easier to animate his transformation. It's just a bit of a head thing, a bit of an arm flap thing, and just a turning the legs around. It was pretty easy. It's not like Rhinox where he goes or Dinobot who goes or Cheetor who goes. Those were a bit more difficult. And then he had the bit of a jetpack. Apparently, it was made the same year. Optimus's voice actor Gary Chalk was diagnosed with blood cancer, but from what I've heard now recently, he has been getting better. He still needs to take a bit of chemotherapy visits, but he says he is getting a lot better. So Black Rhino Range opens the letter, and it was from Christian TV 2023 Cartoons. Which do you prefer, Spyro the Dragon or Crash Bandicoot? I say Crash Bandicoot because, well, what else? He's my most favorite character. And I like mutant animals and a bit of science. Now over here we see Hugo swinging by to give Black Rhino Ranger a CD. And he used it on an oldie type of computers. And the guy's favorite of 1996 was Blue's Clues and Arthur. Now the reason why I drew this is because, fun fact, Arthur started off like this. But over time, they modified his face a bit to shorten his nose, and then that's how he became the one we're all familiar with. Yeah, he looked like an aardvark like he was originally, but then over time he looked less like an aardvark. In fact, when I first saw him, I couldn't quite make out what he was. Let's see. So then I just talked about Blue's Clues and stuff. At this bit here, I sorry to say this, but I reused this from my Double Dragon Decade animation. He just spins a bit. I think I took a bit too long with this part. I should have sped this up a bit more. Just cut off some bits. Now the person who requested me for the present is Interplanet Janet whizzing by, and also a cameo of Lindsay from Total Drama. I believe this is the first time I added a Total Drama character in animations. It wasn't the first time I drew a Total Drama character. The other time was when I was doing Yellow Dodger's Ice Age thumbnails, and he asked me to draw Courtney and Gwen in a mud bath. You see, Lindsay, when I finally decided to take, and also keep in mind, fellas, I didn't get into total drama until March of 2024, like 17 years after the original total drama premiered, and when total drama 2023 was just airing its second half in Canada. Huh. And what convinced me to check out Total Drama was one of my requests during the spider challenge. Izzy with a wolf spider. Before I checked out the show, I looked up to see if Izzy had any interaction with the spider, and she says that she did wear a spider costume in Revenge of the Island. So when I was like moseying about on Netflix, and I actually found that they aired in 2 different seasons of Total Drama available for Netflix. So I decided to check it out, and once I checked it out, I was hooked on the show. I couldn't stop watching it. I wanted to see more and more from it. And then I managed to finish watching action on it as well. And I was wondering if I'm able to see World Tour someplace. And then I realized that they were all available on YouTube. In fact, every Total Drama episode is available on YouTube, including the Redonkulous Race. And heck, some people managed to sneak in the second half of the 2023 series, both the first and the second half of season 6. Thanks. And so you're able to see the second half of Total Drama 2023, even though it's not officially released on Max yet, unlike the first half. BBC has it. I won't spoil anything for the second half of 2023. I'll wait until it fully comes out on Max for any American resident to see. And that's about it, really. That's my commentary on the 1996 episode. Next up will be 1997, when I turned 3 years old and actually do move back to Malaysia. Hope you've enjoyed this video.